Gavel.
I don't have a gavel. I need a gavel.
That's a good one.
That worked.
Calling this meeting to order. 6:31. Peanut Gallery. Roll call shows we don't have an Anton, we don't have a Kennedy.
And Tim's not going to be here for sure, so
Okay,
Anton may show up.
he might. He may. All right, so this is the point where we open the open forum. So, does anyone here wish to come ahead and address the council? Yeah, you should come up and do that then.
Should I introduce myself?
You probably should, yeah.
I'm Todd Miller. I'm here in my capacity as board chair for the Marais Music Collaborative, and specifically regarding our event called the Stars of the North Music Festival, which will be July 28th, 29th, and 30th. It's a program that's designed to raise awareness for a lesson program called the Stars of the North Lesson Program. And what we're trying to do is raise enough funds to create 10 free ride scholarships. It would each be 10 weeks long. 10 students then would have lessons paid for them for 10 weeks from area instructors. So it's a combination of fun with the festival, but it's a fundraiser, and then the lessons paid for over the course of the winter. The exact number of students will depend on how much funds we raise, and we currently have interest from about 5 area instructors. It's going really well. It's sort of built on the memory and the bones of a program I was part of about 7 years ago with the North Shore Music Association and the Arrowhead Regional Arts Council, which was, I taught about 20 kids, helped them with their guitar progress. A lot of them were already into it. Some I helped with drums, some with bass. And then we formed 3 bands and we all played across the street, had a big show. And, am I pointing the wrong way? Okay, yeah. Sorry.
I was like, in the parking lot?
I bought it. I was like, oh,
yeah, right there.
Yeah.
In the
It's
pond.
big open.
Jill Terrell's garage.
There you
She
go.
had that stage set up there. And before the kids played, we taught the audience how to be a great audience too. And the whole thing was just fantastic. And but 7 years have gone by, and I've learned from some lessons from that. One is I can't do it all. So this time around, we have a new nonprofit. We're actually about 3 years old. And we have a good group of people building up around this idea. And I think, youth education is going to be at the core of what we do. And then also we want to improve, I'm talking a little bit about the collaborative, but I'm going to get to my real point for being here. What we want to do is just enhance the music scene for area musicians and audiences. And I'll kind of leave it at that, but I can go into other great detail. Along the way, we've created the busking in the park permit so that area musicians can benefit off our widely dispersed permit without having to pay for their own and other things. So, sort of on relatively short notice, a few months ago, we decided we're going to pounce on that weekend that became available, which was the former Dragon Boat weekend, and try and create a recurring music festival there, and as part of funding this lesson program. And so we have some raffle tickets out there. We have a number of fundraising methods. Probably our biggest contributions will still be direct donations. This festival in the park, we can't charge tickets for. The park's open, it's porous, it's public. So we're trying lots of different alternative ways to raise funds for this, but expenses hit us really hard on this because we're not bringing in a lot of funds. One student's cost is about $400. And so we've been trying to chase down G&G Septic to find out what we need to do for septic systems. It was one of the suggestions from the park board that we bring in some porta potties. And so I'm thinking, well, we're not much. We will have a small beer garden, we hope. I think you'll hear about that today, if you haven't already. And so we don't, well, maybe we just need a couple of porta potties. But what Pete Greshik pointed out was that, well, it's not just going to be your people that are using these. You put porta potties in the park and the entire tourism population will be visiting them. And you're going to need at least 6 or 8, and we're going to be emptying them almost daily. I said, well, what does that cost? And he said, $750. I said, well, there go 2 kids' educations. And I thought we weren't really counting on that much money. And then he did bring down the price to $600, and because of the cause. So I called Mike and I said, you guys going to have any up anyway? I mean, what's happening here? What's the process? And I'm sure you guys hear about porta potties all the time. And so he said, and I said, well, can the city, since we're basically also solving the needs of a lot of people who have nothing to do with our event. Can the city get involved in some of this cost? And so that's why I'm here tonight. Now you know the program. We are extremely limited financially. Any help? Hello?
Hello.
Yes. And this idea, I think, was brought to the park board, and
Yeah.
that was pretty popular
Yeah.
with park board, so.
Yeah.
It seemed like a really good idea, especially for that, like you say, filling that weekend, that's kind of, has an
Yeah.
open spot.
Yeah, and it's one of the rare, it's part of that short charmed time when you can have outdoor music
Mm-hmm.
and have a reasonable hope that the weather will be okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that you can, won't be running inside by 5 p.m. No, it's been very popular. It's a very magnetic idea. The problem is, making sure this is frugal and that it steers things towards our cause.
Sure.
It's probably, I'm going into other details, but it's probably about more than 90% local musicians and people working it. All the musicians are either donating their time completely or partially. And so it just wouldn't be happening. Because we started this sort of recently, we haven't gotten in the queue of some of the more common channels for financing that other music festivals take part in, and things like that. And so this is really kind of my first official reach out
Yeah.
to anything, any organization that's city or government based.
So, for other permits that we give for different events and things like that, such as the Fish Pick and the art festival and things like that, it's their responsibility to provide the porta potties. So that's part of, do we have a criteria written into the permit that says you have to provide a certain number of whatevers?
No, it's been a case-by-case basis.
Okay. Well, I think that, this is something we could certainly add to the agenda. I don't think that we should probably have a more formal conversation about it, rather than just saying, weighing its attributes during the open forum. So, do you guys think about adding that to the agenda?
That sounds good.
Okay. So we'll add that to the agenda following the probably the Public Works update, because we've got the guy here for that.
Does that sound good?
Does that work for
That's
you?
fine.
Yeah.
Tonight's agenda or next?
Yeah, this one right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, super. Thanks. Anyone else for open forum? All right, hearing no more, close the open forum, move on to the consent agenda. Shall we identify this as an item in the consent agenda?
This is new, so I think we should probably discuss it.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so we have 5 items on the consent agenda, the typical 3, and then we have 2 others which are annuals. Fish Pick American Legion beer tent license, and then the bingo permit for the same tent. So just like previous years, this is set up by the Sons of the Legion to benefit the Legion itself, and will be set up in the parking lot. So unless you guys want to discuss that, we can pull those for discussion. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carries. Okay, so moving right on to the Fish Pick Lions Club street use permit. I figured that's why you're here, Mike. If you want to tell us something about it, you can. Although your description was pretty good. Pretty much the
Thanks to
same.
Bobby for very great detail. She did mention one more detail. We're going to be using the parking lot across from the courthouse for vendor parking. Is that correct, Bobby?
Yeah.
And we didn't have a request for a barricade up there.
Across from the courthouse.
Across from courthouse up on Fifth.
Oh, on the west
county-
side?
The county
Yep.
parking
No.
area.
Courthouse. Yes.
Okay.
Smart.
Yeah.
You want to barricade the parking lot?
And a sign that says.
I'll make the
ven-
sign if we can just have a barricade that just kind of, I listed all the other barricades that we wanted, and I forgot that we would want 2 barricades, one on each entrance to that.
And you guys got permission from the county to use the parking lot there?
Well, I
so-
went today and they were at lunch, so I gotta go back, but they always give us.
No. We've used it before for Fisherman's Picnic for even lodging one year frankly. Yeah, we did use it for lodging one year.
Okay. Any questions? Well then, I'll make a motion to approve the Lions Club street use permit. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank
Hope
you.
we have a good event this year, and we
Yeah.
appreciate all your support. The business community has been very supportive.
Yeah, we'd
I
love to have
do
an
want to
update.
pass the word that the refreshment of the Crazy Days, or the rebirth of the Crazy Days, is something that business people want to promote. And
Mhm.
that was a really big part of the Fisherman's Picnic up to about 18 years ago or so.
Oh,
Up until 18 years.
Well, it's been a while. In other words, it's been a while since it was a really big deal. When I was first in town, it was a big deal, but it's kind of lost its place. So that's why we're not having vendors on the streets that day, for the satisfaction of the business people.
Yep.
Okay?
I'm sorry, which day is that?
That's Thursday.
Thursday.
So we will have food vendors. A few food vendors will be along Wisconsin, but on First Street, where we'll have vendors after that, they will only be setting up in the afternoon. So roughly till
Gotcha.
3 p.m. is the Crazy Days time for the store people.
Cool.
Yep.
All right?
Thank
Super
you.
duper.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
Anybody?
All right, so now you're up. We got our bi-monthly or monthly, whatever we call
Bi-monthly.
it, project update. So lay it on us.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is John Hagenmiller of McGough Construction. I'm the site superintendent for the Public Works project. And I'm here just to give you a update and answer any questions if you have any. A lot of you may have seen the update that we've sent in and is posted. At this time, right now, we are setting precast panels, the walls. We're approximately about 2/3 of the way complete. So the south and north wall are complete, and the east. And we just have the center partition to finish up. That's about halfway done, and the west side. So
Dang.
there's a lot of trucks coming into town loaded and then leaving unloaded. So.
That's great.
With the weather that we've had this week, again, we had 2 inches, over 2 inches rain this weekend, and it's raining right now. Our site workers that are doing the dirt work, that's Vite, they held off this week just for the fact that it was going to be busy on site with the precast deliveries and the crane. And with the weather, it really wasn't worth them working. So they should be back next week. And we're still working on our schedule for site utilities. That's going to start probably Wednesday of next week, but we don't know exactly where they're going to start. If they're going to start up by the building or out at the road area. And then we're continuing to pump water into your new pond. We had a little lake that we called Mr. Mike Roth.
But I told him we named ponds after the mayor in this town.
That's
Yeah.
not
So-
funny. Not funny.
Because it's true?
Yes. So
Make
we're
me
pumping
not-
water into the new pond just to dewater the site and dry it out as fast as possible. With the precast, we should, if the weather holds and our road holds for getting the trucks in, hopefully all the panels will be up by the tomorrow afternoon or Friday morning, and then they'll be detailing for the next few days.
Detailing is in filling in the cracks and making sure everything is
Yep.
perfectly square. and
Getting all the
everything.
welds complete, priming them, and getting all the seats for the bar joists set and level in. So in the upcoming week and a half, like I said, site utilities are going to be happening starting next week and into the following week. And I think it's the week of July 17th, the roof members, the bar joists and metal deck will be showing up. So
That's awesome.
after that is complete, we'll start with our underground utilities and then work into our slab on grade and then roofing also. So some guys will be working below, some guys will be working up. I think that's about it. Does anyone have any questions or comments? And again, feel free to stop up at the site. Just make sure you wear proper foot attire
It's
because it's mucky.
Yeah. But,
And just grab a hard hat and safety vest and come on site.
so did you just put in one drainage pond? Like, and that's the kind of one that's
Yeah.
back in the, let's see, what would that be? That would be the
Be the
southwestern
southwest.
corner?
Yep.
And so the dry storage area, like that doesn't have a drainage pond in
No,
that
it
vicinity?
has drainage ditches that
Okay.
lead to the pond.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
most of it sheds towards the pond anyways.
Okay.
So right now, it's only probably about 2 feet deep. And most of the site is draining that way at this time anyways. And what I have pumped.
So when you said your guys were building, or the Veit guys, or however you say that, Veit, that they were building the road so that you guys could get the big trucks in there to pull off the panels and put them up. And you made a comment about that road holding. Is that just kind of like rolled dirt, or did you put
No,
some
no,
gravel
it's
down on that?
actually it's basically a clay base.
Okay.
We graded it down to subgrade right now, and with all the mulch that we had, we've put that on the road.
And that's
that-
working?
It's working well.
Hmm.
So,
There you go.
so that's one good use for it.
We had someone ask though, what happens to all that mulch if you don't use it all?
Right now, I don't know exactly what's happening, but it's going up to Thorson.
Oh, okay.
So, and I don't know what they're using it for, but there's been some people that have come by and we've allowed them to take some mulch. So,
And the person I told you about, they're okay with the road mulch too, if you're gonna pile that up again.
okay.
Doesn't have to be clean.
We'll talk probably early part of next week and see where it's going, how it's going to get there. I don't know if there's going to be any cost implications for trucking or what the scoop is, or it might be just a trade.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, great. Any other questions for him? Great, thanks, John.
thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time.
Yep,
Thank you.
thanks for coming on up. All right, so we have two things to consider, two additional things to consider. Do you want to do this first? or last?
Just happens to be the same party.
Same party, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at this. So this here request that we have is, in front of us, is for the, what Todd mentioned before. This is the
Beer tent. Beer
beer
garden.
tent license. And that would be for the, I'm trying to find the date specifically, 27th through the 29th of July. And I'm assuming, well, that's what it says on that's what it says here.
Yeah, I think it's not till 28th.
28, what, so it would be 28 and 29?
28th.
Well, if you have a
Actually,
27, then you can set up on
Perhaps up
27.
on Sunday the 30th. I
Oh,
think.
but maybe they wouldn't do.
But maybe I'm serving on.
Sunday,
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's early, so. I'm sorry, what was your question?
This is going to be in the same location? Where is this going to be at? This is going to be right next to the,
Yeah, I walked down to the
To
park
the-
with them.
or-
The idea is to back up to one of those planting areas.
oh, I gotcha.
Like you're shaking your head.
Yeah, he was asking if it was in the same place as the Legion bingo tent.
No.
No, it's gonna be in Harbor
It's going to be
Park.
Harbor Park.
Yeah, Harbor Park, yeah. Yeah, and fenced off.
Yeah.
So,
So did the park board talk about this
Yeah.
too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that would be the only question I had. Otherwise, this is the same kind of permit. It's a temporary on sale. A nonprofit entity can get a number of these in a year. They use a local licensee to do the serving, and they're going to work with the same local licensee at the Legion. So,
And I think there is some variables that wasn't, all the locations or the layout of the whole thing maybe wasn't set in stone. But-
yeah, we were still open to input on that. I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that Grandma Ray's came down
Yeah,
and
okay.
saw that they could see what would work. It's small, what we're doing, and my understanding is this has been done down there before.
A couple
Yeah.
times, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember. a
Yeah,
couple times.
and so I don't think we have any kind of tent, any kind of roof over our heads at this point, because the blue one only goes in one place. And you put it there, and now you fence it off,
You
and
fence
people
off
can't get in.
everything. Yeah.
And so.
Or out.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I'm envisioning a pretty small space, not even bigger than this room. And it's about how much fencing can we put up. And if you're, you know where the stage is normally set? If you're standing there and you look to the right, that's where the big power is, the 220 is back in that hill. We're talking about backing up to that, encroaching a bit into that main space in the middle, so that people who are in the fenced-off area can still be in front of the music, but the traffic can still flow around it. That seems to be the best idea. There's not really a natural, comfortable spot to place it, because the way the park is like a hub and spokes.
Right.
And so we're just on one of those peninsulas. The sound man will probably be right next to them. And then the food truck will probably be right
Yeah, I was
next
gonna
to them.
say, big thing to that.
Yeah, good luck.
You just gotta keep the beer inside the tent. No reaching
Oh yeah,
arms.
oh yeah, absolutely. We plan on having extra volunteers guarding the perimeter.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you build a fence that's impossible for people to pass through, you're going to block all the sight lines. And so we need to have physically people just standing there watching. And so
I'll be there watching
we have a good number of volunteers right now.
from the inside.
In the tent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
So-
watching from inside the tent.
Yeah.
Do you? I'm a little punchy tonight. So, does anybody have any other questions about this permit?
Okay, so I see what you mean by the Legion part. I've seen that in the smaller.
Yeah. So that mean I just saw that it was Terry and his group is doing the
Okay.
provision of and serving. So that's why I was.
I also want to have a meeting with Pat Eliason, just to talk about the logistics and see if he has any additional advice. I don't want the headline for this festival being that some miners got their hands on beer. I really don't want it ruined by that. And so if he has any additional input or anything like that.
I think that's a good idea to talk to Pat. I mean,
Yeah.
he'll be able to give you some pretty sensible concepts of what works and what doesn't work. So I would agree with that.
Yeah, he also be playing in one of the bands too.
That's a good point.
Undercover.
Oh, yes.
So how late were you gonna go with this, or what hours were you gonna?
Yeah, what we
It's a
pitched to
good-
the park was up until 10 o'clock.
Oh,
But
something.
Saturday at this time isn't planned for that late. We're keeping it a little loose, but if it goes that late, great. We still have one slot available at the very end on Saturday, which we're talking about making it kind of an open jam
Oh,
for
great.
all the
By that
participants
time.
and other people to come in and kind of have a victorious
The sound's
send off.
really good though, so it might work out nicely.
Yeah, I was gonna say, by that time, people have been in the beer tent for a while. Could be a pretty good show. But, yeah, okay. So that's the suggestion. We've good questions about location and hours and how the arrangement works for it. Does anybody have any other questions, or, or would consider a motion to approve this permit or continue the discussion regarding it?
Well, yeah, I was just gonna, I think I'm fine with the permit or whatever, but my memory was, it was gonna come back to the park board just for the finalization of the layout and all that, and I'm assuming it's gonna be fine, but that was just my only.
Yeah, I wasn't at that park board
Right,
meeting,
yeah.
so I had asked.
And I won't be at this next one, so.
Okay. I'm not entirely clear what our instructions are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a big deal. I just wanted to make sure everything was going through all the channels and everything.
As far as I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we have channel fatigue right now.
Okay.
I think we're trying to do our best. But if the park board wants us to come back, I have no problem coming back. But-
I think it was just when there was a finalized layout.
Right,
And
yeah.
I think Dave would be just a great liaison to.
Sure. I could have a meeting with Dave
Yeah.
and just say, this is what we found.
Yep.
Because I originally presented a photograph with the things drawn on it. And I can say, well, here's some modifications. We've slid this way, or we slid this that way.
Yeah,
think
and
that'd
he'll have good input with that too, so that would be great.
Yeah,
That's the
I
only
would
thing.
agree. That'd be a good idea.
But otherwise, I'll make a motion to approve the permit for sure.
Permit for sure, motion. Is there a second for sure?
Second.
Motion and a second for sure.
Wow.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Look at outside.
Opposed?
Nice and foggy.
Oh, is it
Carries.
just fog? Okay. I thought it was like heavy rain.
It's June.
Mr. Mills, when's the next park board meeting scheduled?
The 5th, I believe.
Okay.
Um,
We kind of double booked on the 5th, Todd.
What's that?
You're a little double booked on the 5th.
is that the?
It's a regular planning commission
Right, yeah.
meeting.
Well, I can send one of other people over.
Well, what time is that start? The planning commission, is that 4?
4.
Oh,
What time's the park board? The other thing too is, I don't know, did we need to, was there a request to bring information back to the board or bring it to Dave?
Maybe just to Dave, yeah, you should probably just, we'll check in with him
Yeah.
tomorrow.
It'd
and
be a
see.
lot more effective, we could just bring it to Dave. And keep
Yeah.
out of it.
4:45 is the park board.
I think the big thing is just to stay in good communication about it.
Yeah,
You know,
that was-
I feel like you've put forward the effort that, you know, your intention is to keep this completely above board and clear, and we appreciate that. And, you know, we'll have Dave and/or the park board be ready for that information when you're ready to give it,
Well, if they wanted to hear about it, that's your last chance to tell them before this thing goes.
I
So,
suppose, yeah.
I don't think it's a big deal at all. It's just, you know, formality, whatever.
Okay, so that passed. So now we're going to bring up the conversation about the restrooms or the bathroom situation. So you're saying 6 to 8 porta potties is what? Why don't you come back up here, because then you're talking into the microphone and we don't have to crane the thing so much.
Yeah, one of the reasons why we don't have a policy about how many porta potties people need to provide is because G&G Septic generally tells them,
Right.
like, we're not going to do this unless you provide X number, because they have experience with the kind of crowds that they have to deal with. And that's what happened to you.
Yeah, we're kind of getting slammed with the town traffic,
Mm-hmm.
which is exceeding our budget really for porta potties. In order for otherwise, they're just going to be ineffective. If we just put up a couple, as we think we need, they'll be overwhelmed very quickly and then become useless.
Well, I guess the time is kind of passed for the GMATA
Right.
funding and such like that. But
I-
have you?
I approached them as soon as we knew we were doing this, but it was already too late. At least
Okay.
that's my understanding. Or I don't recall exactly why nothing's forthcoming from that direction. I did talk to Dave, and I can't recall if there was a technicality or something. I'd have to go back and look again.
That would be an interesting thing to look at. So, I mean, what do you have in your budget for porta potties for this festival or for this concept?
Well, we're still fundraising.
Right. I was gonna
And we're
say.
trying to create this as a closed economic system. So the fundraising that's going on for this event is specifically for this event and for the lesson program.
Mhm.
And we won't know what we have in our budget until we actually begin the show, because we're steadily soliciting donations, we're steadily selling raffle tickets, and so on and so forth. Being this is the first year for something like that, we were setting aside a couple $100 in our mind,
Mhm.
thinking we only needed a couple of these. But 6 to 8 is a different thing. And as I'd mentioned, he had mentioned 750, and then he did bring it down to 6, and so that's basically it.
Well, and like Mike said, I think that we have good reason to trust those guys for
Mhm.
what their estimates are for what the usage of those
Yeah.
things will be. My question for the council is whether or not you guys would be willing to offer some assistance to this program with the understanding that next year they would be independently paying for this service on their own, because we're talking like $400.
I'm just kind of curious. So the two ways you were going to raise money for this was going to be through a raffle and beer in the liquor sales?
There's more than two. Let's see, we have raffle ticket sales, we have direct donations, which we've received some good ones on. We have a house concert that's taken place down the shore, in which the performer is working at a reduced rate, and then all additional tickets revenue are going to the collaborative. We have T-shirt sales. The beer sales, Grandma Marais is donating everything beyond their costs.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
yeah, so I don't know if that's going to be a lot or a little. Don't really know.
Sure.
We have a great working relationship with them.
I'm going to say good shout out to Grandma Razor.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been
Way to
very
go.
supportive of local music.
Yeah, that's
Very
awesome.
supportive. Also, I'm leaving something out. The food truck is going to have a dish that if people buy it, we get something. We haven't determined what that is. I've asked him if he's had this experience before, if he's done anything like that before. And he said he hasn't quite done that before, so we don't know what that'll be yet.
Okay.
And we're just hoping, a lot of this is hope. A lot of this is kind of plucking this festival from the air and placing our marker on that weekend and doing this.
Mhm.
And but So far, so good. We also have some instructors that are willing to donate their time, which makes a big difference in terms of how much funds we have to raise when it comes to funding the lesson program. And so I think after a year, we'll know what we did.
Right.
And then we can more easily construct it the following year. I'm not sure if that answered your questions.
Yeah, it did. I just want, all of a sudden you said that, I realized, yeah, this is just an open thing with music and whatever, so how are you?
Yeah, well, yeah, I've often wondered if that's the best location to try and accomplish something like this, because you can't charge tickets.
Yeah.
And but it's such a fantastic location for musicians to be seen. And ultimately, if the kids in the program can play on that stage, I think that's a real win for them. And but our budget is so darn small, and our expenses are so low at this point. We're not some $10,000-$20,000 festival. We're not that at all. So otherwise, I wouldn't be here looking for a few $100s, to help cover this cost. But it makes a difference in this event.
Well, council, what do you think? I mean, I honestly, I think that music is a huge part of our community. We're talking about a couple $100 to get to raise some money that would benefit the music community in our town, like specifically in our town, and music instruction that's happening in our area. I feel like also encouraging you to make this a closed system. I think that offering a bit of assistance this year, and then expecting you to have it paid for next year, I think that is reasonable. I don't know what you guys think about that. Whereas I think that this is just what I feel anyway.
Thanks.
Thoughts? Stairs.
You're still thinking, Dave?
No, I'm waiting for you.
Oh, it's just waiting for you.
So much polite here.
Must be the rainy weather.
Yeah.
You're waiting for me still?
Yeah.
Because I'm still waiting for you. I think it's great. I think it's super small cost for an open weekend that's going to really benefit everybody, the whole town. It's good to provide entertainment for visitors. It's great to provide instruction for local kids. And we all know that we've had conversations about bathrooms downtown, and
we will again.
And we will have another one in not too long, I'm sure, but this is just it makes a lot of sense.
Thanks.
It's not, yeah.
Cool.
Wasn't that worth waiting for,
I was going to
Tracy?
say, no, Tracy, there's nobody more to wait for now.
Not much more to say, I guess.
Yeah.
You're just trying to figure something out at your first year, whatever. Sure, we can, because you're right, everyone, because you're going to be in Bear Tree Park, everyone's going to want to use a location. Yeah. I'm sure we can help. I would think, however, just by principle, it seemed to me that our Jamaat or whatever, some of those groups should be.
Well, and that's,
feeling that same
once you
kind
have
of
this thing more
flexibility.
organized.
Yeah, I would hope next year we would be in their middle, and working with them much earlier on.
But even have the flexibility to say,
Emergency
hey, we
fund?
get it,
They should have an emergency fund?
or something, but whatever.
Cool idea fund.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
What'd you call it?
A cool idea fund.
Yeah. We'll bring that up.
Cool.
I don't know if that's how that money
So I'll
works.
make a motion to,
Pitch on those blue porta potties.
yeah, and it sounds like a minimum of 400.
You're making the motion.
Yeah, well, I'm also thinking it as I'm making.
The maximum cost at this point is $600.
Yeah, okay, so, yeah, I would make a motion for 600. And then we can see where next year leads.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Can we do the whole thing?
I'll second it. All right, motion
Discussion?
second. Discussion? It's a one-time thing, Mr.
I understand.
Mr. Miller.
Very, very appreciative.
Well, I think that it's great that you're putting forth the effort to make something happen on a weekend where there was a festival and there's not anymore. I think that's hopefully we'll find some really good benefits coming out of
A
it.
lot of things that are, one thing that's really important about this entire endeavor, though, is to come up with all the moving parts
Mhm.
so that we can revisit them next year. In other words, show that it works,
Yeah.
show that it will work, and that's why this is the kind of thing I'd rather talk to you or show that maybe there's a way to fund this, to establish our lines of credit all over town and funds and so forth for this kind of event. It's important. It's laying groundwork for the future.
Yeah, it's an investment.
Although
in it.
this is a one-time deal, I understand that.
Yeah. And the reason I just went with the full amount is because of the reasons that I said before, for thinking it was a good idea, just that everyone's gonna be using it.
Right.
And yeah, you do need to have something in your budget, but you really don't know, and didn't know, and won't know until after, and so it just makes a lot of sense that we're providing bathrooms for the whole town, you
Yeah,
know.
basically, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I have to, and I don't remember what the details were at all, but there have been other initiatives over the last couple of years to rethink that weekend and
Mhm.
have something. And I don't know if there'll be anybody who says, hey, wait a minute, we tried that.
Maybe we'll get to hear, maybe this will spur some other competition for
There you
that
go.
weekend.
Yeah,
It's gonna be, it's gonna be a knockdown, drag-out fight. Okay, so motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Thank you very much.
Super. Keep us in the loop. What
Yeah,
how
thanks a
things
lot,
are going.
Yeah, you bet. Appreciate it.
Great effort, great ideas.
Thanks, yeah.
You talking?
Why don't you guys have a good night?
You too.
You already approved it.
Okay. Super. Okay, so now we're moving on to reports, I believe. So, Mr. Mills, you're up. What do you got?
Nothing?
You got nothing?
No, just like last. My new policy is,
Nothing.
is,
Well, you know, since Anton and Tim are here, you've got to remember the things that you forgot. Like,
He's on top of it.
limited.
He's in superstar form right now, really.
All right.
I mean, look at me.
Yeah.
I have been. Tracy, what do you got?
Seriously?
We probably get way
That's
more
good.
views of these videos just because we're ridiculous.
You're just waiting, aren't you?
Well, look at that! Look at that stance. He's just ready to pounce.
They don't get it yet, but they will. They will.
It's like a mountain lion.
Holy
You
smokes.
never know when. All right.
Well, I was just wondering, are we going to do any like big thank you to that group that did that wonderful little facelift to the bathrooms? Have we done anything, even a nice letter to the editor, thank you, a nice letter, thank you out? Have we posted a picture on our website?
I was actually thinking we might even want to put it in the newspaper. Thank you. Not a letter, but like a
Oh, yeah,
picture
sure.
ad.
Like an advertisement.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a nice article, but a nice picture. I
Yeah.
mean, that painting's great.
Oh, it's
That
hilarious.
mural
It's
is
fantastic.
The
Quite
sign.
something, yeah.
And it's so crazy. I mean, like, so they were right on the money. I should, you know, like, I never questioned them at all because they're brilliant people. But like, every time I walk or drive or bike past that area, there are people in front of there. Like, there's people in that area.
Taking
Like,
their
those-
picture in
Someone's
front of
selling,
the seagull.
someone's
People-
selling tickets to use it.
What?
How much?
Some enterprising young child
Yeah,
selling
probably.
tickets and lemonade in front of the bathrooms?
I could picture a couple people doing that. They need to get a permit for that. Anyway,
Okay.
Lemonade while you wait.
I think that would be a great idea.
Yeah,
Um,
I just,
Do you want to keep that on?
do you
We'd
want
love
some
to.
help? I don't
Yeah,
need
let's
to
do
like
that. I think
No,
that'd
shove
be
that
awesome.
on
That's okay.
someone.
That's a good idea.
A letter and a newspaper ad, is that what you're?
Something, yeah, because I mean, look at what got accomplished in such a short period of time by these people. And in a busy season, these are business owners. They're already got
I
a
know,
lot on
right?
their plate, and they managed to accomplish this. That's just excellent.
I
And it
can
looks
write
like a
a-
million.
I can write a letter to the editor about it.
Yeah, so I think that's just great.
Maybe I'll write a
And
letter to the editor.
shows how much people really, you know, thought that was an important thing. So that's really neat.
Yeah.
And then, so our surveys, speaking of bathrooms, they're all out and about, and we end up with pretty good response. I mean, I know we're going to talk about it in detail later, but just 2 minutes,
Yeah.
one sentence.
We did. We probably sent out about 50 survey invitations, and I think we probably have about 30 responses, which you'll get a nice summary report of. And it's not going to surprise you, the overall results, but I think the breadth of opinion on it might be a little surprising, and some of the comments are pretty interesting. And then I also did get together with the retail group and go through a little exercise with them that I'll report on when we do our work session as well, just to get some kind of direct input on our level of service conversation.
Okay.
So I think we got some good information to work with.
I'm really glad you guys did the survey thing, because then when people do comment, they're all coming from the same base,
Mhm.
you know, and
A little more
answering all the
direction
same
to it.
things. Yeah, yeah. So that's pretty good. So then I went to the League of Minnesota Cities conference down in Rochester, and so they have lots of breakout sessions, and they're all good. Sadly, let's see, how many were there? 1, 2, 3, 4. There were 5 of them. My nice brochure. Okay, I'm lying. There were 4 of them. But one of and each of them has like 5 to 6 things you can pick from to go to. So there's a lot, and none of these are repeats. And what was interesting is a lot of communities, it's mandatory. They all have to show up along with their immediate staffing. They all go. I mean, I know
For
it's
this- for
yeah,
these?
yeah.
It's good training.
I heard that. You know, we all have to be there. And if one community, maybe someone was speaking, they're like, "Oh, who else is here?" And you know, they'd all stand up in the room. So I would think, like, if more of us could ever go, we could hit more of these little breakouts that way and get more information. One of the themes that seemed to go through a lot of the different topics was communication. And it was communicating back out to everyone in your community, how to communicate about getting a project up and going, and during that project, a couple of them were how to use different software and different pieces to communicate well a detailed plan of something you were doing that would make you a more effective communicator. But that was just interesting. So much of it was communication themes. And then something else that just came through in general conversation, nothing surprising, but to hear from the people who were in the metropolitan inner ring cities along with outside, it's workforce and affordable housing is an issue for everybody. So once again, we shouldn't feel alone on that, and we're not an anomaly or whatever, and that's in the metro or out, it's a huge topic for everybody. Mandatory affordable housing. Oh, and then along with communication was one thing I felt really good about, even hearing just side conversations. We're really fortunate. You know, a lot of people, oh, we just send it out in our little city newsletter and in our local newspaper. And I thought, oh my God, we have the radio, we have Boreal, we have the newspaper, and whatever else. I just felt like we can do a better job of communicating than a lot of communities. So I felt good about that, because I really felt stretched. And just volunteerism, our community way over as far as getting into pitch. Things like the fisherman's picnic of many other small towns, they just can't get anyone anymore to do the work. And a lot of them, it's their city clerks and stuff who have to do it. And they're just like, I can't. So I thought, first, we worry about that, but yet we seem to do pretty well. So that was kind of interesting to hear. And then one of the things I was really excited to go to, it didn't turn out to be as useful as I hoped. The theme was rural versus urban, because as the money gets tighter, that just gets worse. And one of the terrible things about all of these breakouts is they didn't time their material well to the time they had to present.
Yeah.
So a lot of them never got to the meat of things, or they wanted more interaction and they ran out of time kind of keying themselves up. But a couple really good ideas I got from going to that particular session, just a couple takeaways, I wish there had been more, was the thought of reviving the sister city concept, but instead, like we would maybe go find one of the cities within Minneapolis, St. Paul, in the metro area, and create a sister city with them. So they
Edina
could start
or
under it. See where that one's
Chanhassen.
going. Yeah. Orono, okay? Let's go to Orono.
You know?
So I thought that was a really good thing, just because the one who did it said, you know, it was really amazing. He was just out a little ways out of the metro. He goes, you know, some of these people, they packed their bags because they thought it was so far it was overnight.
Yeah.
And there's, like maybe a half an hour. But he said it's had really lasting impacts, and they've learned both ways a lot of stuff. And then they thought another thing, if you did that, find a joint issue you could champion together on to help move it through if it meant like going back up to the state on or whatever. So I thought, well, that's one good takeaway. That's something, we could keep in our back pocket to think about doing when we clear our plates of other things. Then, has anybody ever read, her name is Catherine Kramer. Apparently she did a lot of research and wrote Politics of Resentment.
Oh, yeah, I've read
Yep.
Politics of Resentment.
Yeah, so they mentioned that as a good read. Then our old broadband champion, Dana, was there speaking. I didn't pick hers because we have the problem well under control, thank God. But she did do a little, to try to get you in, they had their little mini TED Talk, so I did listen to her give her sales pitch. And she showed some maps of the state, and it is just terrible what's still left to have any form of quality broadband. But they made it perfectly clear that that's preventing a lot of large businesses from moving in, who
Into
really
rural Minnesota.
and keeping young families out because they really need that to move forward, and they just see that as up to getting there. So that was interesting to hear, and I thought we really need to pitch that more about the capability that we have. And maybe that's not us in city council, it's maybe an EDA thing, but we really need to pitch that, which I thought for years, but especially seeing how we're ahead of the game and that we own it. I mean, I see Two Harbors is going to sell their stuff off to help finance.
I don't know.
And I'm
Probably something
thinking,
like
it
that.
was in their small flyer, but if they don't, God, no, because we've
Say that
got a
again?
good product. They want to sell some of theirs off, I guess.
Some of their what?
To
For their
finish off
broadband infrastructure.
broadband.
To
To
do
a
what?
private. Well, because they want the money to finish, they must not have finalized all of their work and gotten it spread where, I don't know, I just read it in their paper, but having Arrowhead, a non-private entity, assures us quality. We don't hit the service slowdowns
Gotcha.
and things like that,
Yeah.
or whatever else
Yeah,
is
It keeps it
coming their way.
independent. And,
Yes.
and because we were on the like on the ball when that whole stimulus package came up and we were able to install it countywide, it's really not a big issue for us anymore. And Arrowhead has proven themselves to be able to operate it well. So that's it's been really a great thing for Cook County.
And for rural to provide Dana, so she had a cool map, affordable housing. I think that was, there were other things. I did the green step thing for you guys. We'll get some pictures. I suppose I emailed them to you
They
or
probably
something?
email them out, or they're on the
And,
website. We can find them.
Yeah, so you get that, and there were other small things. But that was the only disappointment. That's the feedback I'm going to give them, because they had some great speakers, but they were constantly running out of time. And you partially go to these things so you can hear everyone else and what they're saying, what their issues are, get ideas, and that didn't lead always for enough time for that kind of conversation.
It's not enough hours in the day.
No. But they run a really nice conference. So.
Yeah, I think that's a great pitch for the program, or like for going to more of those conferences. And I've never had a bad experience going to them. I've always learned a great deal. So I think that it wouldn't be a bad idea for us to make that more of a
Mandate.
Or just an effort.
Policy. Law?
a
Suggestion.
suggestion
Strong arm?
and encouragement.
Every 3 years, they're in Duluth.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
And one of the
I make a motion to.
When you say those words, it starts. Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second.
Aw.
One of the national speakers again reminded everyone that Minnesota has one of the best organizations. The League of Minnesota Cities is really one of the best run organizations that they deal with. I've heard this before,
Mhm.
so we're fortunate. So, yeah. And if I
Great.
think of other things later,
You'll
whatever.
interrupt me?
Not tonight. I'll wait for another time.
Okay. So I'm up. So I sat in and watched the conversation, the Nordic Nature Group went and did this basically the same presentation they gave us in front of the county board. And then the Citizen Climate Lobby gave pretty much the same presentation that they gave us in front of the county to be looking to the county for some kind of participation in future climate activities, climate control activities, and I commend them for doing that. I think that that's something Grand Marais, as operating as an island, can't really address the challenges that we're being faced with without the county's involvement as well. So I was pleased to hear that those suggestions were taken well, and I look forward to seeing what that participation looks like, because together we're going to be able to accomplish a lot faster. I just wanted to ask a quick question about how that application for the boat launch thing was. If you guys had a chance to do anything with that, you and Dave.
Yeah, Dave did reach out to the DNR. They were rather reluctant to get too involved with it. I think they really are pretty sensitive to what the appropriate role of them as an agency is in that process. They did offer up a different contact to help us with gathering some information. And then we were planning on circling back with Judy Erickson again to get some advice on that.
Great. I think that's ridiculous. I can just say that out loud. That
Well, the whole thing is a bit ridiculous. But,
we're being told that we need to do the work, do some of the groundwork for them, but then we can't get the participation from them to get the information we need to actually do the groundwork, or to do some of that footwork like that. Anyway, we don't need to talk about that for too long. But thank you for working on it. I believe that we should still continue to work on that. Creative Economy Group is they're moving forward to start gathering some of the information that we talked about last meeting. So that's working in the right direction. I've heard really good things about the bathrooms. People are really happy about that. I got a big thank you from a couple of people in the community about some of the yellow got added to the corner down here on the corner of First and Wisconsin.
It was pretty much yesterday.
And, well, people noticed. They did.
That's good.
And they came and said thank you to me.
So we did paint yellow at the intersections only on the stop sign side. We went back another car length with yellow paint and all the stop signs. So we're still not 100% legal when it comes to where we've indicated people can park close to intersections.
Okay.
But it's
But
getting
I think it addressed the issue that people were concerned about, which is visibility of that stop sign at an intersection. And so, yeah, it's good to get feedback, and let's all just kind of look around and pay attention for a bit and see how it works.
Yeah, and I got another conversation about potential parking issues that are happening over by the Fifth Avenue West area. So I'm really glad that we're going to be redoing that part of the road, because
Parking is going to be
it's rough.
tough there. That's by far the most difficult intersection that we've worked on with the Highway 61 redesign, and it's still not in a state where I think it's addressing the needs the best way that it can. But parking, it doesn't matter what we do there, parking is going to be a real challenge in front of those
Yeah.
businesses.
Yep. North House had a board meeting in conjunction with the Wooden Boat Show this past weekend, where they discussed plans for the summer and the fall. They're starting to ramp up already for their Unplugged festival, which is pretty awesome. It's great to see that they're putting so much effort and energy into that, planning for the future there. We had a library board meeting last night as well. The library board approved the second reading of the library budget, which is very conservative, which is what the library board promised that they would do after the last 2 years had been a little bit more, had been allowing for more staffing. And the library is looking like it's in pretty good shape to be doing that. The poetry walk is on schedule to go in sometime in June, They're working on details for putting back up the puzzle tree. Sounds like the anchor bolts that they used for anchoring the tree down were not sufficient for the size and weight of the tree. So they're working on solutions for that, and that's all going to be taken care of by Tom, from what I understand. So that was library stuff. I believe that was all I was supposed to bring up for that. The library's been having tons of incredibly popular activities, by the way. They just had a Whitman thing, a Walt Whitman presentation, a guy who actually was like portraying Walt Whitman inside the library, and they said that it just like blew people's minds. There were 65 people at the library, and it was just, it was like just incredible. So our library is not only getting a reputation for being a 5-star library that's a great library to visit, it's also getting a reputation for being a killer place to go for really great activities and really great events. So it's I think it's fantastic how it's how things are going there. It makes me feel really great.
What was their outside yard thing, like I want to say a week or so ago? They had something with a lot of people outside.
That was it.
That was it.
Oh, that was that one.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It was this weekend.
Yep.
Oh, during the
It was really
week.
poor weather for the weekend.
It was a week
Didn't
or
they have
so
like a
ago.
ping pong tourney or something?
Oh,
They
maybe,
had
I don't know.
something.
I didn't hear about that. I didn't report it on that one.
Yeah, this was a while ago because I was actually in the store looking out the windows. I saw it.
Continuing on, so I went and did some introductions for at some of the different communities up and down the shore for the international and seasonal workers that are working in the different at the different resorts and things like that. And that was really interesting to see those those young people who are coming into our community to do that work, to make the summer season work for us. And that was really humbling as well, to see that all of the there's so much of what makes this community tick that comes on a seasonal basis, and that's something that it just was humbling. And we have there's a lot of issues that brings up, and I don't know exactly what I want to say about that right now, but it was an experience to go and talk to all those young people and make sure that they understood that we really appreciate that they're here, because we couldn't really do it without them. To expand a little bit on the Crazy Days concept that Mike spoke about a little bit earlier, so the downtown business group are really getting excited about that. Like, they really want to make it an actual community Crazy Days, a big sale, like a big summer sale kind of situation on the streets in downtown. And with the Lions Club being willing to help with that and kind of house the permit for that, I think it's going to be huge. So I'm really excited to see that going down.
So they're just going to literally stay on the sidewalks, right?
I think so. Or
I mean, they're
maybe
not
they'll
closing off the
spill-
streets, right? They're just
That's
going to
right.
stay on the sidewalks.
Just be on the
and then-
sidewalks.
Okay.
Mhm.
Do you need a permit for that?
Well, you just gave them permission,
Yeah.
so
That was
yes,
So
you
you
do.
need, but you do need a permit for a storefront to operate on their sidewalk?
To operate on the public sidewalk,
Mhm.
yeah, they
Oh.
do need permission to do that.
And then the last thing that I have is that earlier this week, Mike and I went to a meeting that was put together by Visit Cook County and a couple of other agencies with a group that's called Apex, and they're a group that works on basically creating networking opportunities to attract businesses and to find connections between businesses and workers that are looking to work in a specific area. So they have a couple of programs that, if a community is looking for something, so for instance, when we were looking for the Spectrum Health group, or like an assisted living group, they could have assisted with that whole process, and looking for those agencies as well. If there was some need that the community had, and we were interested in exploring that more further, they could assist with that. If a business was looking for a specifically talented employee, then they could look at the references that they have in their workforce system, and also, you know, that's part of why I'm mentioning this, is that we can advertise that this workforce system exists in our region, and people can sign up for free, and it's one of those things where you write your resume in there and you put down what your skills and your interests are, and then when employers are looking for employees, they can cross-reference that, and then that helps connect people with the right jobs and things. I thought that was a really interesting and underutilized resource for our area. So it's kind of like Monster, except for like a small geographic area. So that was an interesting meeting as well. I think that's just about it. Do you have anything?
I think we covered it.
Anything else?
What's that for?
Oh, that was just one of the bills you approved.
Oh, I thought there was something particular, just the nature of what it was.
I think it's just the timing that it wasn't in the other list.
In the packet, yeah.
Yeah.
So, if there's nothing else, we are adjourned. 7:31.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Chris.